guys, it's Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a great one off the Black Album today. We're going to learn how to do My Friend of Misery by Metallica. This one's been requested quite a bit lately, probably by the same guy over and over again. But we're going to do it anyway because I think it's a great tune. It's got some really cool riffs in it, a really cool harmony section in it. And it's got some nice solos by Kirk Hammett, which the solos not going to be able to get exactly note for note all the time. A lot of it's kind of those bluesy kind of pentatonic, wah bass, kind of going for licks, but you know, 85% of it we can get note for note, but some of it you just kind of have to wing it, and that's how it works for those types of solos. But we're going to go through the whole thing here. Before I do though, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring that notification bell so you know when it's a new video. Please, if you really want to support what I do here on YouTube, the best way to do it is to join my Guitar Academy. I know you guys hear me talk about it all the time, but it is the way I survive, and you'll see a link to it in the description below, and that link will give you a free 7-day trial too. So that is, the Guitar Academy contains all my guitar courses, from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses on improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, some big technique courses in there. You get a lot of support from me as well, so it's kind of my own little guitar school. So if you like what I do here on YouTube, I think you'd love what I'm doing in the Academy. So please go click that link and go check it out. All right, so let's jump into this. We're in standard tuning because Metallica can write killer metal music in standard tuning. Yep, they sure can. All right, so we're going to start here. We have the really cool bass little line going, and then we have this coming underneath it. So we're going to hear that continuing through as those other riffs kind of start happening on top of it. So, but we're going to continue doing this. So this is the open A string, then the 3rd fret there on the D, 2nd fret on the G. So you can hit those together like twice. And then down to the, I'll just move the note on the D string down to the 2nd fret. So you can do that like that if you want. So still the open A string, 2nd fret on the D and the G. It's just an A power chord. So we have this. Now, as we continue that, we have this riff that starts over that. So you do have one guitar player. We'll continue. I believe Hetfield's the one that plays those bottom ones. We have this. So it starts off doing it. They just start adding more to the riff each time. So this first one, you're gonna play the 3rd fret there on the D, over to the 5th fret on the A. Then back to that 3rd fret on the D again. And then you hit the open A string and let it ring. So that's kind of obviously I'm palm muting those notes. And then we're gonna kind of do the same thing, but the notes are gonna be the 2nd fret on the D and the 3rd fret on the A. It's the same pattern other than that. So we have this. Remember, that's going on underneath the chords we did earlier. All right, now we pick it up a little bit. So after a couple times of doing that more basic version of it, we still continue the chords underneath it, but we do this now. So pretty much the same riff. We're just kind of repeating some, just making it a little bit, building the dynamics a little bit. So we have this 3 on the D. So the same lick right there, but you do it twice. And then take this lick down here just one time. Actually, you start doing it twice, but the second time, instead of hitting the open A string, you slide slide to the octave of that on the 7th fret of the D string. So it's instead of this. So all together. All right, now the verse comes in. So the verse has these main riffs that are happening, and throughout it, there's this clean arpeggiated guitar line that comes in that you really start hearing more at the very end. You can kind of hear it slightly throughout the verse, but it's more apparent at the very, very end of the verse. So we'll cover that in a second, but the main verse riff is kind of even a more built up version of this riff we were just doing. So it is. All right, so that right there is just kind of that same riff we did. But here, after you've done that first little, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add something here. We're gonna play the 3rd fret on the A string and 5th fret there on the D. Only during the verse. And then we're gonna back this up. From there, that is the same lick, same riff that we did right before this in the intro. Except when you slide to that A now, you're gonna hit it 2 more times. So let it ring. And that's the actual full verse riff. So we have this. All right, now, like I said, over that, you don't hear it very loud on the recording, except at the very end of the verse, you'll hear it a little louder. It looks like this. It's got that little thing going on, but you really kind of hear it just played one time through, really at the very end. So what's going on there? We have the 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the D, and 5th fret on the A. So this is on clean guitar. So you pick across those 3 strings. So you pick the G, D, and the A string. Basically 4 times. And then what you're gonna do, keep holding the chord, but then we're just gonna pick the G, the D, and then back to the G. So like this. So remember that picking pattern. You're picking across those strings 4 times, then and that's it. So we have this. And then all we're gonna do is move to that A power chord again. So you can just play that with the 2nd fret there on the G, 2nd fret there on the D, and the open A, but that same pattern. All right, so we have this. Now, some people I think will play it like this. Sounds really pretty, but I'm not really hearing that note in the recording. I'm hearing the open A string. All right, now out of that, we get to the pre-chorus, which there's 2 things going on here. We have Hetfield doing this. Just like that. So that's just the A power chord hit once, and then twice. But over that, we have this. Which I think Kirk Kirk's doing. So with this. Kirk is doing it live. Obviously, probably James is playing all this stuff, all the rhythm stuff in the studio. So we have this. So we have this open, heavily palm muted, open A string, then 3 on the A, and then 5 on the D. And then we do the same thing, but off the low E string. So low E, 3 on the low E, 5 on the A. And then shift up here and play 5 on the A, I'm sorry, it's on the A note, 5 on the low E string, and then 7 on the A string. And then we act like we're starting doing it. So I'm doing the open A and that 3-5. So it's the same 3 notes as when we just played it. Then we jump back to the low E string. And then jump up here to the 5th fret on the A and the D together. And then end it with that 7th fret there on the A string. So all together for that pre-chorus. A little slower. All right, from there we get to the chorus, which is really killer. It looks like this. All right, so this is going to start with this F sharp power chord here off the power chord off the 2nd fret of the low E string. Hit that a couple times. Then on the A string, open A, then 2, 3, 4. To the open E power chord. Then you get to the A power chord. Kind of hit that 3 times. And then grab the 4th fret on the D and the G. It doesn't grab the full B power chords. Well, it is kind of full B, but you just grab that common note, that little low bass note, just right there at the 4th fret on the D and the G. Try this. Then you kind of start over. Kind of start the riff like that again. When it gets to that low E, we have this. So that's the A power chord done twice. Then the B flat power chord, the 1st fret on the A, the B power chord, and then a low E power chord again. So all together. And then we gotta start the thing over again. So basically repeat it twice, and then we have this little ending that he puts on it. So that starts kind of a bit interesting. We have the open E and then the 3rd fret there on the A string. You hit that a couple times. And then just kind of chug a few times on the low E string. And then resolve that to the just a regular E power chord, which now you're holding the 2nd fret on the A string with the open E. So this. So you kind of do that a couple times. And then we get back to the so it's pretty much like the 2nd half of the intro is what they plan on. so that when we're kind of in the midway building up that riff, that's what's going on there. So that's really what's going on. It's a little transition to get back to the verse. And then we go back to the exact same verse, same pre-chorus, same chorus that we did before. I love getting to this section of the lesson. So I already taught these parts, so I just go, and then we go verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Got through all those sections now this time in about 9 seconds. All right, and then we get, after the second chorus, we're to this, basically the intro again, right, with that little bass line. The same chords. And then, but the second time you hear these chords, you hear that? And then, so the way you're gonna wanna pull that off is you play this, hit all three. And then we hit this chord again. But now you can't hit it again, just slowly pull off. I'm just pulled that off to that second fret there on the D. Or didn't hit it again because we're letting everything fade out. That's the way I'm doing it, at least. All right, and now we get to this, the volume swells, which are done by James Hetfield. So we have this. All right, so now all he's doing for these volume swells is, there's a few ways you can do this. You can first pick the note and then have your volume on 0 on your guitar and then roll the note in and then roll it back down to pick the next note and then roll that up. So it's kind of, you're constantly rolling up the volume and back down and picking the note when the volume's on 0. It's a lot easier to do on my Strat because the volume knob's a lot closer here. I'm like really straining for this. So because of that, some players will actually just hammer on the notes. And then roll in the volume knob like that. And some players don't use the volume knob at all. They'll just play the notes on the guitar and they'll do the volume with a pedal. I've never liked doing that. I don't think you get as much control using a volume pedal as you do the actual knob on your guitar. But so whatever way you want to do it, it's fine. But so that's the technique that's being used on all these notes. So let's just look at the notes now. So we have this. So that's going to be the 12th fret on the A, then 10 on the D, 14 on the D. And then back to that 12 on the A. With this. Then I'm going to go over to the 14 on the D again. 12, 10, 12. So with this. Then do that again. All right, now here, after you've done that melody twice, we go. So that's a bend, a whole step bend and release at the 14th fret on the G string. And then you kind of release, you swell in this note without the bend. So it goes like this. All right, from there, the next note is that 9th fret on the G string. And then back to the 10 on the D. So we have this. And then back to that same bend thing at the 14th fret on G. And then we're going to end it with 10th on the D and 12 on the D. And then that goes into this little clean guitar part that uses a B bender on a guitar. So if If you don't know what a B bender is, it's a device that's kind of built into the guitar that allows you to kind of pull down the strap of the guitar, and it creates, it makes the B string rise up in pitch. And then when you release that, when you don't pull down anymore, it releases the thing back down to normal pitch. I haven't seen him use that. He's not, when I see him play the song, they don't really do it live. And I'm assuming you don't have a guitar with a B bender on it, because 99.9999% of guitar players don't. I've never even played one in my entire life. So you can still emulate that without the B bender. So this part right here. So it's that he picks this note, he picks this, and then does bends, has the little beat bender on the guitar, it bends that up to this pitch and then back down while the high E string is ringing with it. You can just kind of do it with a slide and fake it. Live, they don't even do that. They do this. So I'll show you both. So we're gonna start with the open A string. Then you're gonna hammer on 2 to 3 on the D. Then play 2 on the G and 3 on the B. Now here, if you want to emulate the B bender, you're gonna pick now the B string again with the open high E string. Pick that together and slide the note on the B string up a whole step, 2 frets, while still letting that high E string ring. And then pick it again and slide it back down. So, or you can bend it. Like that, which will probably sound more authentic, but I can't really do it too well on this guitar because it has a floating trim system and it pulls everything out of tune on that bend. So, I like doing it like that. And then we're gonna play the second fret there on the G. Now, how do they play it live? You might like that instead. So that's basically when they get there, they just pick the open high E by itself, then the B string, and then the G. And then we get to this. So that's going to be the open A again. Hammer on 0 to 2 on the D, and then pick that 2. Then we got to do the same thing on the G string. Pick the open G, hammer on 2, and then pick the 2. Then what you're going to do is hold, basically like you're holding an A minor chord, and then pick the top 3 strings. So, see how as I'm adding the fingers across the strings, I'm trying to hold them and let them ring out. Now, over this, it's kind of low in the mix, but we have Kirk doing this. So that's just a 10th fret on the G and the B together. And then still keep the 10th fret on the B, but move down to the 9th fret on the G. So that's going on with that clean section, but really low in the mix. All right, then we get to the harmony section, which we have 2 distinct harmony parts here. Now, live, mostly, the low harmony part is taken care of by Kirk Hammett, and the high harmony part played by James Hetfield. And they flip it at the very end, the very last, couple of seconds of the solo, Kirk plays the high harmony while James plays the lower harmony. I think it's because Kirk's got a 24 fret guitar, James typically has a 22 fret. So it's probably why. So I'm going to basically show you how they do this live, and then you can do what you want with it. So here's Kirk's part. It's the lower harmony part. All right, so we're going to start here with the 6th fret there on the B string. I'm sliding into that. Then we're going to pull off 8 to 6, and then into a bend at the 8th fret, and then just kill it. But hold that bend, pick it and release, and play 6. So with then down here at the 5th fret, that's a hammer from 5 to 6, then back to 5. Kind of pick that a couple times and hold it. So with this. Then we have this. So we have this. That's 5, hammer 6, pull back out to 5. Slide down to 3. And then we go back here to the 5th fret there on the B string. Pull off to 3. Slide down to 1. Hammer back onto 3 and pull off to 1. Kind of pick that note and then pick that 5th fret each time. That's what I'm doing. So all together. And we gotta start the melody again, about that 6th fret. So the only difference there, we slid into that 6, do that pull off, hold that bend, release, and then back into the bend again. Then we get that pull off the 6 in between there too. And then back to the. Here you just do that hammer from 5 to 6 and then play that 5 once. So we have this. And then we have a different ending here. So that is 5, hammer to 6, pull back up to 5, slide down to 3, and then play 5 and stop. So and then we have kind of the same lick, different notes. We're just going to play 3 on the B, hammer on 5, pull off to 3, slide down to 1, and then back to that 3. So it's the same pattern, just different notes. Just kind of down the scale. And then we're going to mix it up a little bit, come over to the G string. And we have the 5th fret there on the G, hammer 7, pull back off to 5, slide down to 4. Then back at the 5th fret here, 5th fret on the G, pull off to 4, slide down to 2. Then hammer 4, pull back off to 2. So we have this. All right, so then we get to these arpeggios, looks like this. Now this is a big stretch here. So kind of first time through it. So we have the 10th fret pulling off to the 5th fret, on the high E string. And then he's gonna shift back and grab this 6th fret on the B. So he doesn't hold it like this. He goes. So you can see his hand adjusting to get to that note, and then he goes back up. All right, so we have basically a pattern now. So we're gonna have 10 on the high E, pull off to 5, to 6 on the B, so the pattern is gonna be that pull off, 10 to 5, then the 6 on the B, then up, 5, 10 again. So that's the pattern. You're gonna repeat that pattern again. So this. And then we're gonna change it up by removing the last note in the pattern. So just 4 notes instead of going back up to the high note. So it's. So that's kind of the first half of it. Now from there, we're gonna do this, which is gonna pull off 10 to 5 on the high E, over to that 6 on the B again, back to that 5 on the high E, and then the pull off from 10 to 5 twice. Back to that 6 on the B, back to the 5 on the high E, and then the pull off twice again. So it's really one of those things, you want to be able to hear that melody, hear the pattern, get used to hearing that pattern. Kind of end it with that 6 on the B, 5 on the high E. So that is the entire pattern of those arpeggios. A little bit slower here, just so you can get the pattern, because it's going to be the same for James's part. Now we take that exact same pattern and move it to this. A little bit, and he kind of bails out at the end. So we have, you're going to play, this next arpeggio is going to be pulling off 8 to 5 on the high E, over to 5 on the B string. And then it's the same pattern with those notes. So what we're doing, we're going to do the same thing with these notes. Except here, when I said he bails out, the first time when you get to the pattern where it doubles that pull off on the high E, after that double pull off, you're going to come down to the B string and do this little ending, which is going to be 5 on the B, hammer 6, pull off to 5, slide down to 3, and then back to that 5. So we have this. So. Then you start that big arpeggio again. Kind of do that whole pattern there again. And here is where, at least live, Kirk takes over the high harmony part and jumps up here. And there's a little ending there. That slide is also bent, so there's a little overdub there. So it's the same pattern here, but this right here that we were doing here, up an octave. So instead of the 5th fret, we're at the 17th fret. So 20 on the high E. And then we're just going to move up, which is 20, slide up to 22, then pick 22, slide up to 24, and then another guitar is going to be do a bend from 22, bend up a whole step. So I believe Kirk takes over that section because his normal ESP has 24 frets and James's doesn't, so he can't really comfortably play that part. Not with a slide, at least. All right, so we have that is basically Kirk's entire lower harmony section, a little high harmony at the very end. Now we have James's harmony part, looks like this. All right, so we're here at the 10th fret now on the B string. And we're first doing 6, changes 10. So it's basically the same what we did here, but here between 10 and 11 on the B string. So it's the same pattern that we did before. Bend, kill it, pick it, release, hammer 10, 11, and pick that 10 a couple times, then. And that little legato line is going to be 10, hammer 11, pull off to 10, slide down to 8, and then pull off 10 to 8, slide down to 6, hammer back onto 8, and pull off to 6. And then we're back to the same melody again, with a couple bends, remember. So just like we did down here, just really between 10 and 11. So I'm not going to detail all those bits because we basically did it down here. We're just doing the same thing with these two notes instead of down here with the 6 and the 8. Now we get this little descending line. So that's going to be 10, hammer 11, pull off to 10, slide down to 8, and then play 10 there on the B. And then kind of the same pattern again, different notes, which is going to be 10, hammer on, 8, hammer on 10, pull back off to 8, slide down to 6, and then play the 8 again. And then when Kirk Hammett jumped down to the G string, this is what the part that Hetfield will be playing, which is this. Which is when Kirk is doing. So wait, this. So that's going to be 6, hammer on 8, pull back off to 6, slide down to 5, hammer on 6, pull off to 5, slide down to 3, hammer 5, over to 5 on the G. And then we get to his arpeggios. So we've covered the arpeggio patterns. So we just need to look at the notes themselves. The same pattern that we did here. Now here, we're up here. So the notes I'm playing, they're 13 on the high E and the B. Just kind of this D minor arpeggio. So pull off 13 to 10 on the high E, go over to 10 on the B. So that pattern with those 3 notes. All right, and now the pattern taken down to the 12th fret and 8th fret on the high E and the 10th fret on the B. And just like we did before, when with the first double we had those pull-offs in the pattern. First double pull-off we had there, and they did that little line out of it. Same thing here. Right here, he's gonna kind of match what Kirk does. 10, hammer 11 on the B string. 10, hammer 11, pull off to 10, slide down to 8, back to 10. And then we're back up to the full pattern there on that D minor arpeggio, and then up to this A minor arpeggio to end it here. This is now the lower harmony part now. This is when Kirk jumped up here. So Hetfield's now doing the lower harmony part, which is pulling off 17 to 12 on the high E, 13 on the B. So basically the first measure of that pattern And then just go 17, slide up to 19, pick that, slide to 20. And that's it for that lower harmony part. So that's it's a pretty in-depth harmony section. By the way, that is happening over the intro and verse riff. So that'll... kind of the second half of the intro and then the whole verse riff. So you've heard that before. And then we get now to the first solos. I'm going to finish the rhythm guitar parts before I get to the solos. This first solo is pretty short. It's over the chorus riff. So nothing new to do there. And then we go back through the full chorus again out of that first solo. And then we get to the outro solo. Now this outro solo is, before I show you the solo itself, any of the solos, this outro solo does introduce a new riff. So it starts with the chorus riff. So it's going to be kind of the same riff, but so it plays the chorus riff, but in the middle of it, when it gets to this part in the solo, which we'll talk about when we do the solo, there's a different riff that goes on there. It looks like this. Back to the chorus riff. So it's kind of just an F power chord. And not every time, but he'll go kind of throw some dead notes in there. Then it's just the open E power chord, first fret that F power chord, and back to the F sharp. And then we have this open E string, and then the third fret power chord, and then you kind of start over. So you're going to hear that kind of midway through that outro solo, then it goes back into the... And the song just kind of ends with that E power chord ringing out. All right, so now I'm going to take care of the solos. I'm going to play through the first solo for you real quick. All right, so this first solo here is very, very short, and it's going to start here with this. I'll turn the wah off just when I'm kind of just demonstrating it. So we're going to have this, he does a double stop where he pulls the strings really downward, but up in pitch. So you just hold the 16th fret across the B and the G strings. Right, and just kind of start pulling it towards the floor. And just kind of continually pick it as you do it. Then we play 16, 14 on the G string. And this obviously gets to a point where he's just kind of messing around with that kind of F sharp minor pentatonic. So we have this. So we're kind of messing around with the 16, 14 on the G string, over to 16 on the D, then back to that 14 on the G. So we have this. And then we're just going to do this. So that's going to be the kind of a 16, bend of the 16 on the G. And then go down to 14, and do that again. Into a bend at the 17th fret there on the B string. Then he goes into a bend up here at the 19th fret. So we're gonna play the 19th fret bend, and then jump back here and play 17, 14 on the high E string. And then how I play this part, at least, is you grab the 17th fret there on the B string, And then grab that 16 on the G, hit those together, and do like an oblique bend. So you're just kind of holding that note on the B string, the 17th fret. And then you can just kind of bend and release that 16th fret on the G string. He might be doing it with just that as well, but I think it sounds better like this. And then we go to the 14 on the G, the 16 on the B, and then you're gonna hammer on 14 to 16 on the D, and then go over to the 14s on the G and the B to end the solo. Hit those a couple times. And then it goes back into the same chorus riff again that we talked about. And all the riffs. Then we get to the outro solo section, which is a lot longer. So I'm going to play through that for you too. We've already covered the riffs here that go on, the new riff that happens underneath the outro solo. But I'm going to kick the wah pedal back in here, and we're going to play through this outro solo. And keep in mind, there's little parts, just like in the first solo, that little bluesy licks. He's just kind of winging it, got it heavily covered in wah. So you're not going to get, you can get those licks, you can kind of cop them like he does. But those licks, he doesn't play exactly right all the time, but he does have succinct phrases in there that we can grab, and the other ones will just kind of emulate what he's doing at certain points. It's just going to be a little bit easier to get through this. All right, so it sounds like this. All right, so this obviously has a lot of, it's long. Really, it's kind of just based around that F sharp, minor pentatonic again. So we're gonna start here, once again, a lot of licks in this where you see I'm gonna, wow, just kind of going for the rock and the wah pedal and all that stuff. You're not gonna get that note for note, all right? Don't let anyone tell you that it's kind of just the way those licks are played, those parts are always played, is they're supposed to be winged, and they're not really possible. If you want to try to recreate that note for note, you're pretty much wasting your time. So you can recreate it pretty closely, but he's never going to play the same way twice. He never will. But he will grab the phrases that he needs to and play those the same way every time. But for those types of licks, it's just the stylistic, it's an improvised thing that's just gonna be hard to get note for note right. So I wouldn't waste your time on that. So we're not gonna do it at least. So here we go. So right there is the beginning of that section, the outro solo, and he does start with the second fret a couple times on the G string, down to that fourth fret on the D, and then into a series of bends here at the fifth fret on the B string. All right, and then we're gonna do another big bend and release at the fifth fret. And then back down the scale. Remember, we're just basing this out of the F sharp minor pentatonic scale. So that's this 5-2 on the high E and the B, 4-2 on the G, D, and A, and then 5-2 on the low E. So you can really do anything you want with that shape. So anyway, after this bend, release down to that the second fret there on the B, and then to the, now you're playing 4-2 on the G. And I'm kind of just bending up and pulling off to the 2 and then over the 4 on the D. So right here, it's just a lot of rocking the wah pedal, and it's really, you can't pick up what's going on here. It's just more. That's all I'm doing. He's just messing around with that F sharp minor pentatonic. So I just kind of like can play the melodies, the phrases up to that point. And then from here, just kind of mess around until you get to this. All right, so those parts he'll play the same way every time because they're very succinct and there's a true melody going on there. So we're gonna start with this. So we're gonna play this 16th fret there on the G, kind of bend it up. Then play 14 on the G string, over to 14 on the D. All right, and then, so that's gonna be at the, a bend up here at the 17th fret, then back down, then back up, then back down. Now you don't have to pick each one. I like the sound of it when you go, or you can just go, which he might be doing more of that kind of thing, but I like to pick each part of it. So. And then we have this. So that's sliding into the 14th fret there on the B string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull off 17 to 14 on the high E. So you're just doing a bar there at the 14th fret. You pull off 17, 14 on the high E, then pick that note on the B string again, that 14. So you slide into that note on the 14th fret on the B, and then. So it's just, then from there, it's just that repeated 3-note lick. And then, 2 whole step bend. So a big bend there. And then what you're gonna do is release it. And then you're gonna pull off 17 to 14 on the high E string, over to 17 on the B, back to that 14 on the high E, and then a bend at the 17th fret there on the B string. And then what we're gonna do is go back up to the top. So now we're just an F sharp minor pentatonic. We're just an octave up from where we were. So he starts by doing just kind of this. Now right here, these licks, like I said, this part I'm kind of winging it again here, and just find the notes that he actually, pauses on. But it's a descending like that lick. Pretty similar to that. So it's kind of like pulling off 17 and 14 on the high E string, over to 17 on the B, back to that 14 on the high E string. So it's kind of, and then the same thing starting from the B string, which is going to be pulling off that 17 to 14 on the B, over to 16 on the G, back to that 14 on the B. And then you kind of start that lick again from the 17th fret on the B string. Actually, do it again. And then you're going to go into a bend there at the 16th fret on the G. So. And then from here, he's really kind of messing around. Really kind of doing a lot of double stops between the 14th fret on the G and the B, and the 16th fret on the G and the B. And it keeps resolving it down to this 16th fret on the D. So right there, I suggest kind of just winging it. Seems to work pretty well there. So then we get to this next phrase that you can actually get note for note. All right, so it's gonna start with some bends at the bend at the 14th fret on, I'm sorry, the 4th fret on the G string. Bend that up. Obviously, I'm not using a wah pedal during the when I'm showing you guys, teaching this to you, but the demonstration I was. But anyway, he is really helping it with the wah. So you bend up a whole step, and pick it, and just start slowly releasing that bend. So then it slides into the 16 on the D, then 14, 16 on the G. And then we have a bend and release at the 16 on the G, pull off to 14 on the G. Into a bend at the 17th fret there on the B string. So after that bend at the 17 on the Bs, then it comes back down 17, 14, and 16, 14 on the G. And what my little note that I'm targeting there at the end of it, I do a bend at the 16, pull off to 14, and then end it with that bend at the 16 again. So that, I'm trying to find these little target notes, because everything in between is kind of, like I said, it's just kind of winging it. So all right, then we get to this little, so what he's doing here is you can hear this E here. So a lot of times when you see him play it live, what he's doing is he's actually pulling off to the open high E. But it can kind of give you the impression that he's playing that E, but he's not. He's doing the open high E. So he's basically picking 17, pull off to 14, pull off to the open high E. He does this a lot in solos too, so you kind of notice Kirk Hammett when you hear this. And then he just does the same thing, but reaches up. The top note is now the 19th fret. Now from there, after he descends again through that F sharp minor pentatonic, minor pentatonic. And once again, he's just winging it. Like I said, those are not licks that are kind of worth just trying to get note for note. Just kind of go down. Like that, kind of just go for that note. Throwing those double stops. And then when he gets there, he has another melody that he can do, and the rest of the solo you can do kind of like he does. So there's all right, so we have this, so you can hear that melody go in there. So that's going to be the 16th fret there on the D string a couple times. Over to 14 on the G. But then shift up here to the 16th fret and go 16, 17, 18 on the G. Then back to that 14 on the D string. And then just add those double stops to the 14th fret again a couple times on the G and the B. And then hit them one more time and move it up to the 16th fret double stops. Hit those a couple times, so we have this. And then we gotta start the melody again. So that starts the same way. But now instead of doing the double stops, these he does this, which is at the 14th fret there on the G string twice, then 15, 16, and then back over to that 14th fret there on the D. So we have this all together for the melody there. All right, now from there, we just go up and grab these double stops at the 14th fret on the high E and the B now. Hit that a couple times. Hold that, and then slide that down, and then hit them a couple more times. And that ends that outro solo. So yes, I know there's a few things in there that, you know, aren't kind of note for note based licks, but I think we can still get the kind of the true essence of the solo and all the main little melodies and phrases you can play. Just understand there's going to be certain sections that you're going to want to just kind of dig in and go for it using that wah pedal, and that's really how he's approaching it himself. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.